Hey guys, tonight we're taking a slow, smoky walk back in time, far beyond history books, beyond pyramids, beyond the first spark of language, to a night when you are sitting beside a trembling flame, surrounded by shadows that move. The air smells like damp earth and fear. Every rustle outside that flickering circle feels like it could be teeth. You don't have a phone, no flashlight, no walls, just fire. And if that fire goes out, you probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is there right now. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The fire crackles, sending little embers into the night like glowing insects. You watch one float upward, fade, and vanish into the dark canopy. This small fire isn't just warmth, it's a living thing, a shield, a companion that hisses at the creatures beyond the glow. You can almost see them out there, the eyes of something patient, a saber-toothed cat maybe, or a hyena, still deciding whether to rush in or wait until you sleep. For hundreds of thousands of years, this was the line between life and death, a few burning branches, the smell of smoke, and the courage to sit close when everything inside you wanted to run. Historians still argue whether early humans discovered fire accidentally, perhaps lightning struck a tree, or whether it was stolen from nature, nurtured, and protected like a sacred being. Either way, the relationship was instant and intimate. Fire wasn't just discovery, it was adoption. You can picture it, a small group of Homo erectus huddled together, watching the flames the way we watch screens now, hypnotized, quiet, safe for the first time in memory. They learned something crucial that night. Predators hate unpredictable light. Lions and leopards see well in the dark, but they're wary of fire's glow and its erratic dance. Still, it wasn't perfect safety. The smell of roasting meat could attract bigger threats. You can imagine the dilemma: cook to survive, but risk being found. It's the same trade-off humans would later face with civilization itself. Protection comes with attention, and attention attracts danger. You lean closer to the flame, feel your skin tighten in the heat. The people beside you, maybe your ancient kin, keep feeding it twigs, bark, and dry grass. Each spark means another heartbeat of safety. Some scientists believe this simple ritual, guarding the fire, became the first job. Someone had to stay awake, feed it, and make sure it didn't die. Others slept, trusting that glow. That's community in its rawest form, one person watching over the rest. A fringe theory even suggests that early human sleep cycles, those weird two-phase sleeps historians write about, began here. Half the group slept early, the others later, overlapping to ensure someone was always alert. You can almost hear them shifting through the night, grumbling, yawning, tossing logs into the fire, mumbling to keep themselves awake. The fire, in a way, became language before language. It said, "We are here, we are alive, we belong to each other." And just imagine the first jokes. Maybe someone tripped into the fire pit, or burned a chunk of food and made everyone laugh. A prehistoric stand-up routine under the stars. You might think humor came much later, but even primates today tease each other. And laughter, as silly as it sounds, might been one of the earliest sounds that meant we safe enough to laugh. You stretch out on the cool dirt, half listening to the soft breathing of those beside you. You can hear the night insects buzzing, a low growl in the distance, distant enough that no one flinches. You close your eyes for a moment, and the rhythm of crackle, breath, and heartbeat starts to blend together. If you've ever camped in the wild, you know this feeling, that fragile trust between yourself and nature. But imagine living it every night, your whole life. There's no electricity to flick on, no lock to turn, only faith in a flame and the watchful eyes of others. Archaeologists in Kenya found evidence of ancient hearths more than 1,000,000 years old, circular patches of reddened earth, ash, and burnt bone. They weren't random, they were arranged. That means someone cared about where the fire sat. Maybe it was placed to block wind, maybe to keep smoke out of the sleeping area. But the thought behind it, that early sense of planning, comfort, even aesthetic, is what separated humans from every other creature trembling in that dark. Over time, the fire changed everything. It softened food, making digestion easier. It stretched waking hours past sunset. It even altered anatomy. Some researchers argue that cooked food helped fuel bigger brains. So, yes, that flickering flame in your imagination might have made you who you are, the modern human, the thinker, the dreamer, lying here tonight, half asleep and half awake. You roll over in the warmth, the smell of smoke still in your hair. Someone across the fire stirs, looks up at the sky. Maybe they re-wondering what those cold little lights are, the stars. Or maybe they re-wondering if any of them will still be here in the morning. Predators are still out there. You can hear them breathing beyond the edge of the dark. But inside the glow, there's something new. Not just safety, but connection. That shared silence that says, we'll get through the night together. The fire pops again, spitting sparks that rise and die. And for a fleeting second, you think about how fragile survival has always been. Yet somehow, your ancestors did it, night after night, generation after generation. They didn't just survive, they learned. And as you drift closer to sleep, you can feel that ancient warmth pulsing under your own heartbeat, that primal reminder that every comfort you have today began here in the trembling light of a flame someone refused to let die. The fire is still burning, faint but alive. You can feel the night stretching endlessly around it, vast, empty, patient. You're sitting closer now, shoulders nearly touching the others, because the dark beyond the circle feels like a living thing. Every sound makes your pulse jump, a twig snaps, a low growl hums through the grass. Someone mutters a warning, and suddenly, everyone's awake again. This is how you learn what it meant to survive the night. You weren't alone, not ever. Even in the earliest bands of humans, someone had to take the first shift. Someone had to be the watcher. You imagine drawing the short straw. It's your turn to stay awake, while everyone else curls up on the ground, wrapped in animal skins, faces slack with exhaustion. The fire throws long, wavering shadows across their sleeping forms. Your eyes sting. You want to sleep too, but you can't. You listen instead to the insects, the faint wind, the things that sound too heavy to be insects. Historians still argue whether this night watch behavior was instinct or social rule, but every hunter-gatherer society we've ever studied had it. From the Kung in the Kalahari to the Hadza of Tanzania, someone always stayed up. That's not coincidence. That's evolution's bedtime schedule. And here's the quirky part. Recent studies found that in modern human groups sleeping outdoors, people still naturally stagger their sleep cycles. It's like an ancient alarm clock wired into your genes. Even when you camp today, chances are someone in your group wakes briefly every 90 minutes, not because of caffeine or phone habits, but because your ancestors survived by doing exactly that. The watchers of the night weren't the strongest. Usually they were the injured, the elders, or the ones too restless to sleep. You can picture an old man sitting up, poking the fire with a stick, humming quietly to keep himself awake. Maybe he tells stories to the dark, stories that no one hears, but that still keep him company. Sometimes, though, it wasn't enough. You can hear it in your imagination, the sudden scream of an animal being dragged away, the chaos, the stampede of feet. Sleep was dangerous. That's why people learned to dream lightly, half awake, half alert, ready to leap up at the slightest noise. You turn your head toward the horizon. It's still black, but a hint of gray touches the edge of the sky. The long night is almost over. Around you, the watchers shift again. A yawn, a whisper, a quiet sigh of relief. You made it. But survival didn't mean safety. It meant endurance. And endurance, over time, became trust. If you fell asleep tonight, you were trusting someone to stay awake for you. And that trust, as fragile as it sounds, may have been the first spark of something bigger than fire. Empathy. There's something poetic about it, isn't there? The first human bond wasn't a handshake or a promise. It was just one person fighting sleep so another could rest. You can almost feel how that small act reshaped human rhythm. Day wasn't just for hunting anymore. It became earned. A safe morning meant someone else sacrificed their night. A few scientists believe this nightly vigilance is the root of our anxiety today. That restlessness you feel when you hear a creak in the dark. That's 100,000 years of evolution whispering, stay alert. The predators may be gone, but your brain hasn't received the memo. You shift again, pulling the hide closer to your chest. Your breath fogs in the cold. Maybe you try to hum softly, like the watchers before you. It's a low, tuneless sound, but it fills the silence. You tell yourself you're keeping the spirits away. That's what ancient people believed, to noise-scared predators, both seen and unseen. In some tribes, watchers wore charms, bones, feathers, bits of carved stone to ward off evil. In others, they painted their faces with ash, believing it hid them from prowling eyes. It might sound strange, but it wasn't superstition. It was strategy, blending scent, sound, and belief into survival. And somewhere between the superstition and strategy, language began to form. Little clicks, whistles, and low hums, signals between watchers. Danger, they're quiet. Here, stay low. Imagine inventing communication, one fear at a time. A fringe theory even suggests that lullabies, yes, those soft, sleepy songs you hum without thinking, began as watch songs, quiet sounds to reassure others that the night was still being guarded. You weren't alone. Someone was awake. Someone was watching over you. You stare into the fire again. It's lower now, glowing more than burning. The shadows dance across the sleeping bodies, and you realize how small they are compared to the dark beyond. Yet somehow, they made it this far. They survived saber-tooths, leopards, and the endless cold, not because they were the fastest or the fiercest, but because they watched for one another. You catch yourself smiling at that thought. It's kind of funny, really. All of human history built on the same nightly routine you follow now. Stay up too late, stare at the flicker of light, promise yourself you'll sleep soon. You poke the fire, watching sparks rise and vanish. The horizon brightens slightly, turning from gray to the faintest blush of blue. Somewhere far off, you hear the first bird call, thin, uncertain, like it's testing the morning. And as the sun edges higher, you understand what the watchers already knew. Daylight isn't safety, it's just a new set of dangers. But for now, you can rest. The others stir, blinking against the growing light. They stretch, scratch, mumble. Someone claps you on the shoulder, a silent thank you for staying awake. You nod, too tired to speak. And as you finally lie down, eyes closing, you realize that survival wasn't just about fire or tools. It was about faith, the belief that someone else would watch while you dreamed. The first unspoken agreement in human history. I'll stay awake so you can sleep. The sun is barely up when you wake again. The fire is nothing but gray ash now, soft and warm under your fingers. The others are already moving, stretching, gathering sticks, brushing off leaves. There's no talking, just gestures and grunts. You follow their gaze toward the trees, tall and heavy with mist. Today, you'll move, because the night might be survivable here, but the day brings other dangers. You walk behind the group, your bare feet sinking into cool mud. The air smells sharp, wet bark, animal musk, decay. Everything is alive and watching. You can feel it. A rustle in the branches, a flash of gold eyes. The forest doesn't belong to you. It never did. You're just passing through. You're learning the rules of ancient mornings. Move quietly. Don't lag behind. And whatever you do, don't wander off alone. Historians still argue whether early humans were primarily tree dwellers or ground explorers during this stage of evolution. Some fossils suggest they climbed as easily as they walked. Others think they'd already started abandoning the canopy for open ground. But right now, as you look up at the swaying branches above you, the trees seem like safety itself. You spot one with thick limbs and tangled vines, perfect for climbing. Your ancestors would have seen it too. When danger came, trees were fortresses. A leopard might follow, sure, but few other predators could reach that high. You place your hands against the bark, rough and damp, and start to climb. The wood scratches your palms, but it feels secure. A few meters up, the forest changes. You can see everything: the mist, the swaying leaves, the faint movement of something large below. You pull yourself onto a branch, heart pounding. For the first time since last night, you can breathe. You imagine how it must have felt thousands of years ago, watching from above as the world moved below. The air cool, the ground far away. You could see predators coming before they saw you. You could sleep, cradled between branches, body curled like a child's. Archaeologists have found signs that early humans may have built makeshift nests in trees, piles of leaves and branches shaped into cradles, much like modern apes still do. A quirky discovery, really fossils showing the imprint of sleeping bodies nestled in the dirt beneath old fig trees. They weren't permanent homes, but night shelters, temporary safety zones before moving on. But living above ground had its price. You couldn't cook up there. You couldn't store anything. And one wrong shift in your sleep meant a drop that could end your story fast. You glance at the others, still on the ground. Some are gathering stones near the fire pit, others breaking sticks, testing their sharpness. They look up occasionally, maybe envious, maybe amused at your climbing. And then a sound, a low rumble that freezes everyone. The forest goes silent. Even the insects stop. You peer down through the branches. Movement in the undergrowth. Slow, heavy, not the slink of a cat. Bigger, the kind of big that makes your lungs forget how to work. The group below huddles together, their breathing shallow. You grip the bark tighter, your nails digging in. For a moment, you wonder if it can see you. A shadow moves between the trees, gray hide, a hump of muscle, a glint of curved tusks, a giant. Historians call them macharodonts, or sometimes giant hyenas, massive, bone-crunching creatures that hunted in packs. They weren't the villains of fairy tales, they were just hungry. And you, small and soft, were potential dinner. The group doesn't scream or run, they freeze. The alpha, probably the oldest male or female, slowly raises a hand, palm outward. Everyone stills. The animal sniffs the air, confused by the fading scent of smoke. Minutes drag into hours. Then, eventually, it turns away. You let out a shaky breath. So do they. Historians still debate whether these close encounters trained humans to cooperate, or whether cooperation evolved first. But moments like this, shared fear, shared silence, likely forged the beginnings of teamwork. When the danger finally passes, the group moves again. You climb down, legs trembling. Someone pats your shoulder. No words, just that, a simple acknowledgement. Together, you begin walking toward higher ground. You pass small caves carved into limestone cliffs, their mouths dark and inviting. One of the younger members of the group gestures inside. Shelter caves were like trees, only colder, safer, and permanent. But they came with new dangers, snakes, bats, things that hissed from the dark. You'd need a fire again, and someone brave enough to step in first. You crouch at the entrance, squinting into blackness. The smell of damp stone fills your lungs. Water drips somewhere deeper inside. It's quiet, too quiet, but you step forward anyway. That's what humans did, over and over. Stepped into darkness, hoping it would be home. The walls are rough beneath your fingers. You touch old claw marks, maybe from a bear, maybe from something else. The others follow, their footsteps soft, hesitant. The group spreads out, exploring. The air grows cooler, almost comforting, after the sticky heat of the forest. You find a small ledge, high enough to keep things at bay. Perfect. Someone drags in dried branches. Someone else scrapes flint against stone. A spark, a hiss, and then warmth again. You sit down beside the new flame, watching it flicker against the stone walls. Shadows move, stretching tall and thin like ghosts. The cave becomes something sacred, both tomb and temple, both womb and world. And maybe, for the first time, you realize this isn't just surviving anymore. This is claiming space, turning fear into territory. One of the younger ones tosses a stick into the fire, laughs softly at the sparks. You smile too. The sound echoes, bouncing through the cave, multiplied, as if the earth itself is laughing back. The night will come again soon, and you'll need watchers once more. But for now, from this height, surrounded by stone and smoke, you feel safe. And though you can't name it yet, something deep inside you knows. This feeling of climbing, of hiding, of helping each other up, is what it means to be human. The cave smells like damp stone and smoke when you wake, but it's not quiet anymore. The forest hums beyond the entrance birds. Insects, the distant rumble of something big moving through tall grass. Light pours in, bright and soft, cutting through the last tendrils of mist. You step outside, blinking against the brightness. The trees are thinning. Ahead of you, The world stretches wide, no longer thick jungle, but open land, endless and golden. The air feels different here, lighter, dry, full of wind and sound. You're standing at the edge of a new world, the grasslands. The forest had been safety, full of shadows to hide in. But this is exposure. You can see everything, and everything can see you. You walk out with the group, your feet brushing through tall grass that whispers around your ankles. The sky seems enormous. Clouds drift lazily, and heat presses down like an invisible hand. Somewhere in the distance, a herd of grazing animals moves antelope, maybe. Something prey-shaped, something worth chasing. But first, you listen. Always listen. The savannah is never silent. The wind carries the rustle of danger predators, stalking low, tails flicking, muscles coiled. Out here, the hunters have the advantage. Lions, leopards, and wild dogs blend perfectly into the yellow. You and your group, not so much. Historians still argue when early humans made this shift from forest dwellers to open plain travelers. Some say it was climate change, the forests drying and shrinking. Others think it was choice a gamble for food and mobility. Whatever the reason, once you stepped into the open, you could never fully go back. You shield your eyes, scanning the horizon. No cover, no branches to climb, just grass and distant rocks. If something charges now, your only hope is to run. And so, you start learning teamwork on a level you never needed before. The group forms a loose line. Some walk ahead, eyes sharp. Others stay behind, keeping watch on the horizon. The elders and the youngest stay near the center, safe between bodies. You can feel the rhythm of it, a living system of caution and care. This is how you survive in the open, not by strength alone, but by awareness. Your ears twitch at a sound, the cry of a bird, sharp and panicked. That's the alarm. Even now, thousands of years later, your heart reacts before your brain does. You freeze. Everyone freezes. Somewhere out there, something moves against the wind. A moment later, the herd of antelope explodes into motion, darting away from a patch of grass that ripples unnaturally. A lion bursts out, muscles rippling, jaws wide. You watch as the group near you scatters, each moving in practiced directions, some shouting, others waving sticks. The lion halts, confused by the noise and numbers, then slinks away with a low growl. You can feel your pulse in your teeth. When it's over, everyone laughs softly, almost embarrassed. The laughter is nervous, but real, the relief of still being alive. You catch yourself smiling too, heart still racing. That's how language grew here in the open. Through shouts, gestures, shared panic. The beginnings of organized communication, shaped not by curiosity, but by fear. And fear, strange as it sounds, became the teacher of intelligence. A fringe theory suggests that fear was the evolutionary fuel behind human cooperation, that our brains grew larger, not for abstract thinking, but for managing group anxiety. You can almost imagine early humans whispering to each other after every close call. Next time, we run left, or next time, you shout first. You move again, stepping carefully through dry grass. The air shimmers in the heat, bending the horizon like liquid. Every sound becomes a signal, the flap of a bird, the thud of hooves, even the drone of insects. Everything means something. You start to notice patterns. Birds go silent right before predators strike. Insects buzz louder before rain. You're decoding nature's language without realizing it. That's another thing historians still debate. Did humans invent communication from nothing? Or did they simply copy what nature already did? You stop near a patch of tall reeds. A sudden hiss makes you jump. It's a snake, coiled and ready. Someone beside you throws a rock, and it slithers away. The whole group bursts into low chatter, checking for danger. And then, just like that, the line reforms. No panic, no chaos, just adaptation. You start to see how the grasslands shaped human minds. Here, every mistake had a cost, and every shared success built trust. That trust would evolve into something much larger, something like strategy. You remember last night's watchers, how they took turns staying awake. Out here, you do the same, but differently. Now it's not just about guarding sleepers. It's about scanning horizons, lookouts, scouts' eyes that never stop moving. And because of that, humans began to think ahead. Somewhere, far off, a cloud of dust, Rasasa heard moving across the plain. The group stops. You kneel, narrowing your eyes. It's not predators, this time it's opportunity. Food. Someone grins, bares their teeth, raises a stick. The others follow. This is new to aggression by choice. Hunting not from hunger alone, but from coordination. You're becoming the thing that once hunted you. Still, not everyone's convinced. You glance at the smallest child clinging to a mother's arm. Her eyes are wide, reflecting both awe and terror. She doesn't understand the shift yet, that moment when survival starts looking like dominance. The group moves forward again, low and quiet, bodies aligned, feet light. The grass sways like a golden sea, and you're a school of fish swimming through it. The sun burns overhead, turning sweat to salt. Then motion, a wounded animal limping, separated from the herd. The group spreads, circling it slowly. You hold your breath, watching. A spear still primitive, just a sharpened stick flies. It strikes the animal's flank. A cry echoes through the plain. Then, silence. You approach carefully. The animal collapses, breathing shallow. Someone moves forward, ends it quickly. There's no celebration, just quiet reverence. The smell of blood mixes with dust and wind. You realize that for the first time, fear and hunger have traded places. Later, as the group eats, you notice something. Pieces of meat are passed to the weak, the young, the wounded first. It's not just fairness, it's investment. Keeping everyone alive keeps you alive. And as the sun sinks again, you look back at the open land, the endless horizon, the waving grass, the echo of danger fading with the light. You don't belong to the forest anymore. The grasslands have made you sharper, faster, more aware. You lie down near the new fire, feeling the earth's heartbeat beneath your back. The stars return, cold and countless. And just before sleep takes you, you think of how far you've come from climbing trees to standing tall, from hiding to hunting. But even now, under the vast savanna sky, part of you still listens for the watchers, still trusts that someone else, somewhere in the circle, will keep their eyes open a little longer. You wake before dawn again, the smell of damp ash in your nose, the fire's gone cold. Above, the sky is just beginning to fade from black to bruised purple. You stretch your legs, hear the soft crack of joints. It's another reminder that even early humans woke stiff after a night on hard ground. Your breath fogs in the air. You glance around the clearing, making sure everyone's still breathing. The smallest one, she's curled near the ashes, still sleeping, clutching a stick like a doll. You smile faintly. Humans have always done that, found something to hold on to, even when the world was full of teeth. The elders stir next, muttering low sounds that might be words, or might just be morning grunts. Then, from the trees, a sound that makes every head rise, the shriek of something dying. Probably a monkey or worse, another predator's breakfast. You all know better than to investigate. You begin to walk, slow and deliberate, the group forming its familiar line. One elder leads, to stay at the rear, scanning constantly, safety in numbers. It's such an ordinary thought to you now that you forget how revolutionary it once was, that strange thing called cooperation. Not every animal had it, but humans. You made an art of it. Anthropologists still argue whether it began from fear or necessity. Did people cooperate just to stay alive? Or was there already a spark of empathism, faint recognition that the person beside you mattered? Whatever the reason, those who stayed together tended to survive the longest. The ones who didn't, well, you can still see their bones in the caves sometimes, half buried under dust and claw marks. The group moves along a game trail, toes digging into wet mud. Your sense of smell does half the work: earth, rot, water, animal. You hear the rustle of wings, the faint splash of something slipping into the river nearby. Maybe a crocodile. You remember last week someone almost didn't make it across. Their leg still carries the mark of those ancient teeth, now scabbing over. They live because the others dragged them to shore and burned the wound clean with a hot branch. Humans saving humans. It's not poetry, it's survival strategy. Even the smallest tasks become coordinated rituals. When a fruit tree appears on the horizon, you don't rush in alone. You fan out, eyes sharp for movement in the branches. Baboons sometimes guard these trees like tiny, screaming warriors. But today, it's quiet. The scent of overripe fruit fills your head. You reach up, grab one, and tear into it. The sweetness coats your tongue, thick as syrup. A second later, you hand another to someone else, sharing again, always sharing. That S, one of the quirks that fascinates scientists today, why early humans gave away food instead of hoarding it. Some think it was a primitive form of alliance building, a trade of trust before words existed. Others think it was guilt, yes, actual guilt, a strange, quiet emotion forming in brains still shaped like apes. You can almost imagine that first pang of conscience, that whisper, they're hungry too. Midday heat turns the air into syrup. You move slower, the sounds of insects rising in waves. Then a sudden rustle ahead, a boar. It bolts across the trail, and half the group startles. One of the younger hunters grins, grabs his sharpened stick, and gives chase. You watch, half amused, half terrified. The boar is quick, and humans, well, not exactly built for sprints. But what humans do have is endurance. So you follow, slowly, steadily. The boar tires first, panting, drooling foam. The hunter circles, signals with a soft click of his tongue. Others join, forming a semicircle. Then one throw, 2, 3, and the animal falls. The sound that follows is both triumphant and somber. You helped end a life, but it means your group will live another few days. Later, as smoke from the cooking fire curls upward, you sit back and watch them eat. The hunter who made the first throw doesn't eat first. He waits. He passes pieces to the elders, to the children. That ritual, that respected's already becoming culture. There's another quirky belief among paleoanthropologists that maybe this sharing, this group feeding, is where language itself began. Imagine the grunts and hums that started to mean good meat or careful, still hot. The foundation of civilization might have been a roasted boar dinner. As the day fades, you wander toward the water again. There's a shimmer of light, frogs croaking somewhere unseen. Your reflection stares back mud-streaked, wide-eyed, oddly aware of itself. You crouch closer. Humans began recognizing their own faces long before they had mirrors. That awareness, that flicker of me, changed everything. A sharp cry echoes from the distant hyenas, always hyenas. The group gathers quickly, silently. This time, instead of running, you build a barrier of branches and smoke. The predators watch from the dark, glowing eyes tracing every move. But they don't attack. Not tonight. You lie down again, the warmth of the fire licking your side. The night hums with insects and faraway roars. You think about tomorrow, though you don't have the word for it yet. You think about danger, and somehow about love, the strange pull that keeps you close to these people, these imperfect creatures who breathe beside you. Historians still argue whether early empathy was a fluke or fate. But you know, deep down, as you drift towards sleep, this is what being human feels like. To protect, to forgive, to hold the line together in the dark. You hear someone laugh softly nearby, maybe a joke, maybe nonsense. You smile anyway. The fire pops once, sparks spinning upward like tiny spirits. Somewhere, deep in the night, a predator howls and you don't even. Morning breaks with a silence that feels heavier than usual. The mist clings to your skin, cool and faintly metallic. You blink, adjusting to the soft gray light, and realize half the group is already awake. Someone's tending the embers from last night, coaxing life back into the coals. The faint hiss of wet wood fills the air, and a curl of smoke rises lazily toward the pale sky. You stretch again your body, always half sore, half sweaty, for what the day will demand. There's a rhythm to survival now. Wake, check for movement, scan for tracks. You've become something between an animal and an early philosopher alert, but capable of wondering why you have to be. Today's hunt will take you toward the open grassland, where danger comes not from what hides in the shadows, but from what you can clearly see charging straight at you. The group moves together, each step careful. You watch your own feet sink into damp soil and think about how many generations before you did the same. Tens of thousands of years of footsteps pressed into earth, forming invisible trails of memory. Ahead, the grass shivers, a herd of gazelle. Your pulse quickens. But it's not you who moves first, it's the oldest woman in the group. Her hair is silver, her back slightly bent, but her eyes are sharp as obsidian. She raises one hand signal to freeze. Every muscle locks, then another gesture, split and flank. The younger ones peel off silently, circling the herd. This kind of choreography would look like magic to any outsider, yet no one speaks. No language, just glances and instinct. Scientists still debate whether gestures like this were precursors to speech, or remnants of something older, something every creature once knew before words took over. Either way, it works. The herd startles, bolts, and the hunt begins. You run not fast, but steady. The air tears through your lungs, but your legs don't stop. That's humanity's secret weapon, persistence. The gazelle can sprint faster, but you can chase longer and longer still, until its heart gives out before yours does. Hours pass. The world narrows to breath, dust, and the sound of pounding feet. You lose sight of the others, but you know they're near ways near. When the animal finally collapses under a patch of acacia trees, you don't even cheer, you simply exhale. Survival isn't glorious, it's quiet. Later, back at camp, the smell of roasting meat fills the air again. Someone starts humming a low, rhythmic sound, almost like a song. It rises and falls, matching the flicker of firelight. No words yet, just feeling. Maybe this is where music began, not as art, but as a kind of shared sigh after fear. The younger ones mimic the sounds, tapping stones together in uneven rhythm. You laugh quietly. It's ridiculous, and yet it feels like peace. Historians still argue whether early humans sang for joy or for connection. Maybe both. Maybe that's what separates you from the night howlsta, need not just to survive, but to celebrate surviving. The air cools quickly once the sun dips. You notice something else tonight, a faint shimmer beyond the tree line. Eyes reflecting firelight. Predators again. You grip your stick tighter, ready. But the group doesn't panic. Instead, you all sit a little closer to the flames. The glow paints the circle of faces, tired, alert, alive. One of the older hunters starts telling a story through gestures. His hands describe an animal with too many teeth. His face exaggerates the danger. His body reenacts the chase. The children watch, wide-eyed, as he ends with an over-the-top victory pose. Laughter ripples through the camp, soft but contagious. You realize something, then stories aren't just entertainment. They're memory, training, bonding. They teach without preaching, a kind of prehistoric TED Talk, minus the stage lights. And here's the quirky fact anthropologists love. Some of the earliest cave paintings, those handprints and animal silhouettes may have been the visual version of this moment. The story told not just with voice or gesture, but with pigment and wall. You can almost imagine someone smearing ochre on their fingers, pressing it to stone, and whispering, "I was here. We were here." That's the first flicker of culture, the human need to be remembered. Night deepens. The fire burns lower. Someone tosses in dried grass to feed it. The flames leap, painting patterns across the ground that almost look like movement. You find yourself hypnotized, tracing the shapes. For a second, they look like the herd from earlier, the chase, the run, the fall, fire as cinema. Maybe this is why humans never stopped staring into it. A few sparks drift upward and vanish into the dark. You think about stars, how your kind once looked up and saw eyes watching back, or spirits, or ancestors, maybe even gods. You don't have names for them yet, but the questions are already there, simmering beneath the surface. Why do some die and others live? Why does the sun always return? Why do you feel sadness for a fallen animal, but not for a stranger across the river? Questions, endless questions, the true sign that your species is evolving. You lie back again, using a rolled pelt as a pillow. Around you, the camp quiets. The children are asleep, one clutching a small carved bone for luck. The elders murmur, half dreaming. You stare into the dark canopy and listen to the world breathe. The rustle of grass, the chirp of something tiny, the slow exhale of your own lungs. It all folds together into one long, soft rhythm. Historians still argue whether early humans ever truly felt safe. But lying here now, surrounded by warmth, full belly, and shared laughter, You think maybe they did. Maybe this was the closest thing to peace the wild ever offered. You close your eyes, half smiling, whispering something that isn't quite a word, but feels like one anyway. The fire cracks once more, and the smoke rises like memory. Tomorrow, the hunt begins again. But tonight, you simply exist. You wake to a world glittering with dew. The first rays of sun stretch across the land like fingers brushing life into everything they touch. The air is damp, heavy with the scent of wet grass and smoke from last night's fire. Your stomach growls, but it's a lazy, unhurried hunger, the kind that comes when you know food will come soon enough. You sit up slowly, joints cracking again, and glance around. The group's already stirring. One of the older men is gnawing on a leftover bone. Another's sharpening a stick with a smooth rock. The younger ones, restless as always, are chasing each other in circles, laughing in short bursts that echo through the morning. You watch them and feel that familiar tug of emotion. You wouldn't call it love yet. You don't have the word for it, but it's close. It's that quiet warmth that makes you want to keep them safe, to make sure they see another dawn. Nearby, the elder woman hums against oft rhythmic, maybe the same tune as last night. She dips a handful of ash into a bowl of water, stirs it with a stick, then smears it across her arms. A natural insect repellent. Clever. Humans have always been inventors. When necessity knocks hard enough. You remember another trick, smearing crushed leaves and mud to cool the skin, or rubbing animal fat on the body to trap heat during cold nights. It's messy, sure, but it works. You smile at the absurdity. Civilization begins, apparently, with bad skincare choices. The plan for the day is different. Not hunting, but searching. Water, shelter, and maybe new territory. The grasslands drying. The herds are moving elsewhere. That means you'll have to follow or risk starving. So you pack what little you have. Stones, sticks, a few bones sharpened to points, and fire, always fire, wrapped in bark and kept alive inside a hollowed log. Historians still argue whether early humans truly discovered fire or just learned how to keep it. Either way, it became your portable sun. You don't own much, but that tiny ember in a hollow branch is worth more than anything else in the world. The journey begins quietly. Feet crush dry grass. The sun climbs higher, burning the back of your neck. You wipe sweat from your brow and keep walking. Hours pass. The group fans out, eyes scanning for signs, paw prints, droppings, broken branches, anything that suggests water nearby. Then, finally, someone spots it. A shallow depression in the land, damp at the edges. A good sign. You all hurry forward, hearts lifting. And there it is, a pool of water, murky but real. Relief washes over you like the cool ripples spreading through that pond. But just as you kneel to drink, something moves on the far side. A shape, broad and low, eyes glinting, crocodile. You freeze, heart thudding. It slides closer, barely disturbing the surface. Without a word, two of the men grab stones. Another readies a spear. The tension is silent but electric. Then, with perfect timing, one of them throws. The rock hits the creature's snout with a dull crack. It hisses, turns, vanishes back into the depths. A collective exhale. Danger avoided for now. But you don't linger. You've learned to respect water. It gives life and takes it just as easily. You fill hollowed gourds with water, tie them with vines, and move on. The day stretches endlessly, the land changing from grass to scrub, scrub to bare soil. The world feels vast, empty, almost hostile, and yet you keep walking, always forward. It's during these long walks that something strange begins to happen. Your group starts to form small patterns to people sharing a rhythm, one slowing down to help another. A few trading silent glances that mean we'll rest soon. Communication evolving like breath itself. Scientists think that somewhere during these migrations, human empathy deepened. Maybe it was the endless walking, the exhaustion that forced you to lean on each other. Or maybe it was the way grief started to linger. Because when one didn't make it, when feet gave out, or fever struck, the group didn't just leave them behind anymore. They stopped. They mourned. A small cairn of stones, a handful of flowers, a moment of stillness. The earliest funerals in history, simple, quiet, but deeply human. You can almost see it now. The group huddled in silence, the bodies still and pale under the morning sun. No one speaks, because there are no words yet for goodbye, but tears fall anyway, though no one understands why. Historians still argue whether this was emotion or ritual, whether early humans felt loss or just mimicked it. But you, standing there, know the truth. The ache in your chest is too heavy to be instinct. That night, you sit by the fire again. The group is smaller now by one, and the silence feels strange. You poke at the flames, watch them dance. Maybe that's why fire became sacred. It was something you could control when everything else felt wild. Someone drops a handful of dried herbs onto the fire. The smoke changes color, twisting blue, fragrant, almost soothing. You inhale deeply. It smells like comfort. Maybe this was your first attempt at ceremony, a moment of shared calm after shared pain. The stars are bright tonight, scattered across the sky like scattered seeds. You look up and wonder again. The ones who've gone now live among those lights. The thought makes you smile, a soft, sad smile, but still, you lean back, head resting against a smooth stone. The warmth of the fire reaches your face. The sound of breathing surrounds you, steady, alive, reassuring. Tomorrow, you'll walk again, maybe farther than before, maybe to a new place entirely. But tonight, you whisper something to the stars, something without language but full of meaning. A promise, maybe. The morning begins with wind, long, low gusts that roll over the plains like invisible rivers. It carries the smell of dust and dry leaves, the faint echo of thunder somewhere beyond the horizon. You blink sleep from your eyes and stretch, bones creaking softly. The fire has burned out, leaving only a thin gray smear of ash. You kneel, blow on it out of habit, but nothing stirs. Time to move again. You notice footprints leading away from camp. The hunters already gone. They always rise first, chasing what little game the land still offers. The rest of you pack the essentials, the fire log, the bone tools, the water gourds. It's become a ritual now, this constant motion, always searching, always balancing between hunger and hope. The air feels heavy, electric. Somewhere far off, vultures circle, black specks against the pale sky. You watch them spin, lazy and patient. They've been watching humans for a very long time, always waiting for the same thing, mistakes. As you begin walking, the ground changes, softer, muddier. You're near a river again, wider this time, slow-moving, brown and alive with insects. A few birds skim the surface, wings flashing silver in the light. The sound of running water soothes you, even as your instincts hum with warning. Someone spots movement upstream, a herd of massive shapes wading through the shallows. Hippos, you freeze. They look slow, peaceful, almost comical. But you know better. They're unpredictable, territorial, and fast when they need to be. You decide to cross downstream, carefully, silently, one by one. Everyone steps into the water. It's colder than you expect, the current tugging gently at your knees. You can feel pebbles rolling under your feet. Midway through, something bumps your leg. You look down, nothing, just the ghost of a fish, maybe. But your pulse doesn't slow until you're on the other side. Once safe, you turn back, watching the river flow. For a moment, you think about how many creatures depend on this one ribbon of water. Predators, prey, and now you. It's a living vein through the wilderness. You start to understand why people will one day build entire civilizations around it. Historians still argue whether rivers or fire mattered more to early human survival. Some say fire gave safety, others say water gave permanence. You suspect the truth lies somewhere between. You can't live long without either. The hunters return near midday, their faces painted with exhaustion and disappointment, empty-handed. One of them gestures wildly, describing a near miss, a wild bull, horns like curved blades. You can almost see it in your mind. The chase, the dust, the moment of hesitation that saved their lives but cost the meal. You laugh quietly. Even failure becomes a story. The group rests in the shade of an ancient baobab tree, its trunk wide enough to shelter everyone. Someone knocks on it. The hollow sound echoes deep, like a drum. A few of the younger ones join in, tapping rhythmically with sticks. Soon it becomes music again, raw, uneven, yet oddly beautiful. You lean against the bark, feeling the vibration travel through your body. Maybe rhythm came before speech, you think. Maybe humans started by drumming their stories before they could tell them. The idea makes you smile. Then, a rustle from the tall grass. Everyone freezes. A shadow moves, low, deliberate, lion. You can feel it watching you, the same way you watch prey. The air tightens, a collective breath, held in silence. Someone reaches for a spear. Another gathers stones. The elder woman mutters something under her breath, maybe a plea to spirits, maybe just courage disguised as sound. The lion steps forward, golden eyes glinting, muscles rippling under fur. You don't run, not this time. Instead, the group gathers behind the fire log. A quick strike with flint. Sparks flying, dry grass catches. Flame blooms, small but fierce. The lion halts, uncertain. The crackle of fire fills the air. An ancient warning whispered in light. It growls once, low and resonant, then turns away. You exhale, slowly, trembling, saved again not by strength, but by wit. Humans might not have claws or fangs, but they have this, cleverness, the ability to turn fear into invention. Anthropologists still debate whether such moments, these improvised defenses, sparked the leap toward tool-making intelligence. Some say it was fire. Others say it was necessity. You say it was both. Necessity simply lit the match. As dusk settles, the group gathers again around the rekindled flames. Smoke curls upward, blue against the darkening sky. The youngest child holds a burning branch, waving it like a torch. Everyone laughs, tension melting. The danger has passed for now. You find yourself gazing at the lion's fading tracks, still visible in the dirt. There's something humbling about it. You realize predators aren't just enemies, they're teachers. Every encounter forces you to adapt, to evolve, to think. And thinking, that's the true beginning of everything. You tilt your head back, watching the stars prick the sky one by one. You trace their patterns absently, connecting them with invisible lines. They almost look like the path you've walked, looping, uncertain, but always forward. One of the elders points upward, mimicking your gaze. He draws a shape in the air, a big cat, maybe, or a hunter's spear. You both laugh softly. You wonder if this is how constellations were born, a blend of curiosity, fear, and imagination. Later, when everyone's asleep, you sit alone beside the fire. The coals glow like tiny hearts. You pick one up with a stick, watching it pulse orange, fading to black. So fragile, yet powerful enough to change the world. You think about the lion again, about the moment it turned away. You think about how survival isn't just about escaping death, but understanding it, studying it, anticipating it, even respecting it. Humans didn't just survive because they were lucky. They survived because they learned. The fire crackles softly, whispering to the night. The stars shimmer like distant campfires. The river hums, steady and eternal. You lie back, hands behind your head, smiling faintly at the thought. If tomorrow brings another predator, you'll be ready, because that's what your kind does: fear, adapt, survive, repeat, until fear itself becomes your teacher. And maybe, just maybe, your friend. The next morning, the world smells of rain. Not the light, misty kind that kisses the ground, but the thick, heavy kind that pounds it into steam. You wake to the low rumble of thunder, rolling through the clouds like distant drums. The air is damp, warm, and full of tension, a storm's breath before it breaks. You stand, stretching, feeling your muscles complain. The group's quieter today, as if the weather itself has hushed you. Even the birds have gone silent. You know this silence. It's the pause before chaos. Someone shouts a warning, and then the sky opens. Sheets of rain crash down, drenching everything in seconds. The fire hisses and dies instantly. You grab your log of embers, shielding it under a hide. The others scramble for shelter under trees, inside shallow pits, anywhere to escape the sky's fury. The ground turns to mud almost instantly. It sucks at your feet, heavy and cold. You slip, catch yourself, laugh despite it. There's something strangely joyful about it. The wildness, the sound, the reminder that nature's still the boss. A flash splits the sky, lightning. The air smells like metal. Thunder follows so closely it feels like the earth itself growls. The children cry, huddled close to the elders. You kneel beside them, pressing a hand on a small shoulder, a gesture of reassurance, older than words. Rain runs down your face in streams. It's cold, relentless. But as you squint through it, you notice something remarkable. Everyone's moving together, instinctively, covering the weakest, anchoring the hides, checking the ember log. Chaos, but coordinated chaos. Humans turning panic into teamwork again. Anthropologists still argue whether this instinct for collective response was learned or innate, whether cooperation evolved from countless disasters like this one. Watching it happen, you suspect it was both. Survival made empathy practical. The storm rages for hours. Wind howls through the trees, snapping branches. You hear the distant crash of something large, maybe a tree falling, maybe something alive caught in the flood. When it finally slows, the world feels reborn. The air is cleaner, colder, charged with that strange electric calm after violence. You step out from under the dripping canopy. The land looks new, raw, glistening, scarred. Tiny rivers rush between the roots, carrying leaves, insects, and the remains of a bird's nest. Everything's been rearranged, but then you see it, a shape half buried in the mud. You kneel, wipe it clean. It's stone, smooth, shaped, unmistakably deliberate. A tool, not yours, someone else's. You call the others over. They gather, eyes wide. The shape fits your hand perfectly. One side sharpened, the other dull. It's beautiful, in a brutal sort of way. You imagine another group like yours, not far away, making and using the same things. Strangers, but the same species. That realization hits deep. You're not alone in the world, after all. There are others, other camps, other fires, other hunters, looking at the same sky. Historians still debate whether early human groups cooperated or competed when they met. Some think the first meetings were peaceful, exchanges of tools, food, even mates. Others believe they ended in blood. You don't know which truth you'll find, but curiosity outweighs fear. You keep the stone. It feels important, almost sacred. A sign of connection, proof that somewhere out there, other minds are thinking just like yours. As the rain fades to drizzle, the group sets off again. The ground squelches beneath your feet. The sun breaks through briefly, making everything shimmer. For the first time in days, you see color, bright greens, deep browns, flashes of red from berries on a nearby bush. You pluck one, roll it between your fingers, then taste it, sweet. You grin, pass it to the next person. Soon everyone's eating, laughing softly, faces streaked with rain and mud. It's messy and human and perfect. Later, when you stop to rest, someone starts arranging stones into small patterns, circles, lines, a spiral. At first, it looks like idle play, but then you realize this is memory, a way to mark where you've been, to say, we were here. You join in, stacking smaller pebbles beside the larger ones. It's satisfying work, deliberate, almost meditative. The children mimic you, giggling as their piles collapse and they start again. The rain glistens on every surface, making the stones look alive. Maybe this is how art begins, not from boredom, but from gratitude. A tiny rebellion against the wild. A human way of saying, we belong here too. Night comes quickly after the storm. The air turns cool, sharp. You rebuild the fire, coaxing the damp wood until it catches. The flames sputter, then roar. Everyone gathers close, shivering slightly, eyes reflecting orange. Someone begins to hum a different tune this time, deeper, slower. You feel your heartbeat match it. Another joins in, and another, until the sound becomes layered, a primitive harmony under a star-smeared sky. Historians still argue whether these early sounds were communication, prayer, or play. But sitting here now, surrounded by firelight and rain-slick earth, it doesn't matter. What matters is the warmth, a flame, a voice. You stare into the fire, watching the logs collapse inward. Sparks rise like tiny souls. For a brief, fleeting second, you imagine the world centuries from now. People under roofs, with lights that never go out, telling stories about you. The thought makes you laugh quietly. Then you lean back, arms crossed behind your head, eyes heavy. Outside, the rain falls again, soft this time. the kind that sings you to sleep. The morning begins soft, almost hesitant. You wake to a faint golden haze spilling over the horizon, dripping light onto mud-slick paths and waterlogged leaves. The fire from last night is nothing but a few glowing embers, and the smell of wet wood mingles with the faint sweetness of crushed berries. You stretch carefully, listening to the group around you stir in the half-light. Today's goal is different. Not hunting, not gathering, but tracking. You've heard whispers of a large herd of antelope moving north, and the elders want to follow. The youngest hunters jump at the chance, but you can see the anticipation tempered with caution in their eyes. The landscape itself is deceptive. Small rises hide predators. Shallow streams conceal slippery mud, and every rustle in the brush could be friend or foe. You start walking, the earth soft beneath your feet. Every step is deliberate. You've learned that the smallest mistake can cost more than pride. Birds scatter as you approach, the sharp crack of twigs underfoot echoing in the silent morning. You glance at the others' every face set with that peculiar mixture of fear and determination. Historians still argue whether early humans relied more on sight or smell for tracking. You, for one, know both are vital. You sniff the air, catching the faint temps of antelope sweat and distant rain. The elders point with subtle gestures, guiding the group in silent conversation. Even without words, the communication is perfect. Hours pass. The sun rises higher, making the mud burn hot through your soaked feet. You pause near a shallow ridge, taking stock. Ahead, a herd is moving, grazing cautiously. You can feel the thrum of life in their muscles, the nervous energy vibrating through the grass. And then you notice it's something stalking the edges. A lone cheetah, moving with lethal grace, eyeing the herd. You alert the group with a soft click of the tongue. Everyone freezes, bodies tensing. The cheetah pauses, aware now of your presence. You realize how remarkable this is. Humans, predators themselves, have learned to interfere with other predators. The very act of survival has made you tacticians, strategists. The elder steps forward, placing a hand on a tree trunk and leaning into the wind. A plan forms silently, wordless, ancient. You watch as younger hunters fan out, using the terrain to their advantage, guiding the herd away from danger. The cheetah snarls softly, frustrated, but cannot overcome the human network of instinct and learned skill. You reach the herd safely. Relief floods through your body in a slow, satisfying wave. You hand water to the children, watching them drink and giggle, their laughter a rare melody against the rustle of grass. Sharing once again proves itself more than ritual its survival. Later, you move to a small clearing to rest. The elders discuss paths, game, and the hidden pools they've discovered. You notice marks on the nearby rock-steeny carvings or scratches. Perhaps another group, long gone, left signs. Scholars still debate whether these were early communication, decoration, or territorial markers. You study them closely, imagining the hands that left them there centuries ago. The sun climbs higher, burning the morning mist away. You notice insects gathering around puddles, frogs diving into hiding, and a lone hawk circling overhead. The sheer coordination of life strikes you, predators and prey, humans and beasts, all caught in a perpetual dance. You sit beside the fire, later, sharpening sticks and preparing a small meal. Someone cracks a joke about tripping in the mud and falling flat on your face, and the group laughs. A much-needed release after the tension of the hunt. Humor, it seems, is as essential as water or food. The day stretches into late afternoon. A herd of smaller animals crosses your path, gazelle, young and trembling. One of the children points, and the elder motions for patience. You wait, watching the herd pass safely, understanding instinctively that restraint is as valuable as action. Historians still argue whether early humans developed moral codes from necessity or empathy. As you watch, it seems less abstract, more immediate, practical, human, protecting the young, the weak, the group itself, rules forged in mud and sweat. As evening falls, the wind dies down, the fire crackles gently, smoke spiraling into the purple sky. You trace constellations you barely name, imagining the hunters of tomorrow, seeing the same patterns. A soft sense of continuity fills youth's unbroken thread of experience, connecting past, present, and future. You lie down again, tired but alive. The children fall asleep around you, clutching simple toys made from sticks. The elders hum a low, steady tune, teaching rhythm, memory, and the first whispers of song. The day ends in quiet reflection of survival, of learning, and of shared breath. Tomorrow promises more movement, more danger, more lessons. But for tonight, the fire's warmth, the group's presence, and the gentle hum of the wild lull you into sleep. Dawn arrives, muted, the sun barely cutting through a blanket of gray clouds. You wake to the gentle drip of water from leaves above, the soft hiss of wet grass underfoot, and the faint, earthy aroma of damp soil. The group is already stirring, voices low, eyes squinting at the weak light. You stretch, feeling every muscle protest, and notice the youngest hunters checking the sharpened sticks from yesterday, their faces eager and serious. Today is about exploration. You're heading toward a series of rocky outcrops to the north, places rumored to have caves and potential shelter. The ground is uneven, dotted with hidden roots and slick stones. Every step demands attention, but the air buzzes with promise. Even in this wild, uncertain place, humans are drawn to novelty curiosity, as much a survival trait as caution. As you move, your senses sharpen. The faint hum of insects, the distant call of birds, the subtle rustle of mammals in the underbrush'll feed a mental map of the territory. You pause near a small ravine, noticing claw marks on a fallen log, tigers, or maybe a bear. You'll never know, but the marks remind you that this world is alive in ways you can't fully predict. You glance back at the group. The elders lead, pointing out dangers and advantages in silent gestures. Younger members mimic them, learning through observation. It's how knowledge spreads without instruction manuals, without words, without written law. Survival itself is the teacher. Historians still argue whether early humans relied more on trial and error or imitation. Watching the group, you see it's a mixture. Instinct guides the first action. Observation polishes the second. Hours pass. You reach the rocky outcrops, jagged stones rising like ancient sentinels. The caves beckon, dark mouths in the stone, shelter against both predators and weather. You approach cautiously, tossing small pebbles inside to test for hidden dangers. Nothing stirs. Inside, it smells of earth and wet stone, a faint trace of older occupants. Someone suggests it may have been a resting place for other humans long ago. You imagine their shadows moving through the darkness, faces lit by fire, hands tracing walls, perhaps leaving marks that historians will someday debate. Ritual, or simple memory. The children poke around, curious, stepping lightly. You watch them, hearts swelling with the recognition of their growing confidence. One of the boys finds a small cluster of mineral deposits, glittering faintly in the dim light. He shows it proudly to the elders, who nod. Such discoveries may seem trivial, but to early humans, noticing the spark of a stone or shimmer of mineral could mean fire, tools, or trade in the future. Outside, the wind picks up. The clouds darken further, hinting at another storm. The group huddles closer to the rock face, using it as a windbreak. You start a small fire from the remnants of wood and leaves collected earlier. The smoke spirals lazily, the smell both comforting and primal. Someone hums a tune, a continuation from last night, and soon others join in. Music, memory, and protectional entwined. Later, you explore a shallow pool formed in a depression in the rock. Tiny fish dart under floating leaves, and water bugs skitter across the surface. You dip your hand in, feeling the cold, smooth liquid slip through your fingers. Simple pleasures like this water in hand, warmth from fire, shared laughter become profound when survival is constant. Historians still debate whether early humans' connection to water was purely practical or spiritual. You think maybe both. Perhaps awe began as necessity, curiosity, and instinct intertwined. By afternoon, the storm arrives in earnest. Rain pelts the rocks, hammering against the cave entrance. You press closer to the wall, feeling the vibration through stone and bones. Lightning flashes, illuminating shadows strange, moving shapes that seem alive. You start to tell a story aloud, soft and low, mimicking the patterns of the wind, the fire, the group's rhythm. The children listen, wide-eyed, absorbing every word, every pause, every inflection. Even without words for abstract ideas, stories teach. They warn, entertain, and connect. Maybe that's why humans survived when other species didn't. They carried memory through narrative, lessons through rhythm, and safety through cooperation. As the storm subsides, the group emerges from the cave. Everything is glistening and wet. Moss, stone, leaves. The smell of rain is intoxicating. Someone kicks a small stone down the slope, and it clatters, echoing across the rocks. You pause, listening. In that echo, there's a sense of continuity. The world speaks, and you've learned to listen. Night falls gradually, soft and forgiving. The fire crackles, warming damp hands and faces. The elders hum again, layering tunes that rise and fall like gentle waves. You lie back against a rock, head heavy, body weary. The children's soft snores blend with the rhythm of the night. Historians still argue whether cave use was primarily for protection or community. Sitting here, you feel it's both. Safety and connection intertwined, survival and ritual indistinguishable. The stars emerge, scattered jewels on a velvet sky. You trace constellations with your eyes, linking them to stories and memories, to the footsteps you followed and the paths you will walk. Firelight, stone, rain, and shadow all fold together, a quiet symphony of human experience. And as you drift toward sleep, the fire's warmth and the echo of humming lull you gently carrying you through the night, with the knowledge that tomorrow will demand more, but also offer more, a constant rhythm of challenge. You awaken to a thin veil of fog clinging to the ground, softening the harsh outlines of rocks and trees. The air smells faintly of wet earth and smoke from the dying embers of last night's fire. The group stirs quietly, each movement deliberate and measured. Even the children, usually restless, shift with the rhythm of the waking land. You stretch, feeling the lingering stiffness in your back and shoulders, and notice the faint shimmer of dew on the leaves around you. Today, the goal is reconnaissance. The elders suspect that a nearby ridge might conceal new sources of food or new dangers. Every step is taken with caution. Every rustle of grass, every shadow is noted. You notice the tiny details, the pattern of ants, the way a bird flits between branches, the slight tremor of a bush as something larger moves unseen. These signals, subtle and fleeting, are as vital as any tool you carry. You pause at a small stream, kneeling to drink. The water is cold, almost sharp against your tongue, carrying with it the taste of soil and vegetation. You notice scratches on a nearby stone, shallow but deliberate, another group, perhaps, or a lone wanderer marking their presence. Anthropologists still debate whether such marks were practical, symbolic, or territorial. You touch the stone lightly, feeling a strange connection across time and space. Moving onward, the terrain rises sharply. The ridge ahead looks formidable, jagged rocks protruding like the teeth of some great beast. You climb slowly, using your hands as much as your feet, feeling the cold, rough surface beneath your palms. The wind picks up as you ascend, carrying with it the scent of wild herbs and distant smoke. The group follows in silence, each person attuned to the pace of the land and the rhythm of your shared breathing. At the summit, the view opens, revealing valleys and ridges that stretch far beyond the horizon. Herds of animals graze in the distance, unaware of the small, observing humans. You feel a pulse of pride, not in conquest, but in understanding. This is reconnaissance. Learning the world's patterns, predicting danger and opportunity alike. You scan the valley floor, noting water sources, dense vegetation, and signs of predators. Knowledge here equals survival. A sudden movement draws your attention. A leopard, sleek and silent, crouches at the edge of the forest, watching the grazing herd, and you hold your breath. The group instinctively freezes, every muscle taut. A small rock underfoot slips, making a soft click. The predator flinches, then retreats into the shadows. You exhale slowly, realizing how finely balanced the line between life and death always is. Later, as the group descends, the elders point out edible plants, tracking signs of smaller animals, and discussing possible hunting strategies. The younger ones mimic their gestures, absorbing knowledge in a way that is silent yet profoundly effective. You notice how early humans transmitted wisdom not through lectures, but through demonstration, repetition, and shared experience. Historians still argue whether early human knowledge systems were purely observational or if they included abstract teaching. Watching the interactions now, it's clear that both are at play. Observation provides survival skills, while subtle gestures and shared rituals embed these lessons deeper into memory. By mid-afternoon, the ridgewalk has given way to a more forested area. Shafts of light pierce the canopy, illuminating patches of moss and scattered leaves. Tiny streams trickle over stones, and insects hum faintly. You pause to examine a small pool, watching the reflections ripple with each falling leaf. Life seems delicate here, yet resilient, thriving in a careful balance that humans must respect to endure. The group makes camp in a shallow clearing, using fallen branches to form a windbreak. You collect dry leaves and wood, coaxing a small fire to life. The warmth is comforting against the damp chill, and soon the elders begin humming a familiar tune. The children join in, hesitant at first, then with increasing confidence. Music, rhythm, and shared experience become another form of survival bonding and reinforcing unity. As dusk settles, you notice a strange formation near the edge of the clearing, a cluster of stones arranged in an almost intentional pattern. You and the elders examine them, considering their possible origins. Were they markers, playful arrangements, or a primitive form of art? Scholars still debate such things, but you appreciate the human impulse behind it, the desire to leave a trace, to communicate, to mark presence in a vast, indifferent world. Night falls slowly, stars blinking awake overhead. The fire crackles gently, illuminating tired faces and hands stained with earth. The group gathers closely, leaning into the shared warmth and the familiar rhythm of humming. The children fall asleep nearby, the adults' eyes reflecting orange flickers of firelight, and the wind carries soft whispers through the trees. You lie back against a rock, staring at the stars, reflecting on the day's lessons: observation, patience, cooperation, and awareness. The ridge, the streams, the hidden predator, they all reminded you that survival is as much about understanding the world as it is about enduring it. And as sleep slowly claims you, the fire's glow and the soft nocturnal chorus of the forest lull you into a quiet sense of security, even amidst uncertainty. The morning comes slow and golden, the kind that glows through thin mist and turns every breath into visible warmth. You blink awake beside the dying fire, its smoke curling lazily toward a pale sky. Around you, others begin to stir, stretching, coughing, whispering. A baby fusses softly before being soothed by the rhythmic hum of a mother's voice. The forest feels calm today, as if holding its breath between storms. You push yourself upright and scan the camp. What once was a scattered group of wanderers has become something else, a settlement, not permanent yet, but more structured than anything you've known. Small circles of stone mark old fire pits. Bundles of dried leaves and grass line the cave entrance, forming makeshift bedding. The bones from past meals have been arranged neatly outside, a primitive sign of organization. Humanity, it seems, is learning the art of staying. Breakfast is quiet but efficient. Roasted roots, nuts, and leftover scraps are shared around. One of the hunters laughs as a child tries to bite into a stone by mistake, the sound drawing warm chuckles even from the weary. The air smells faintly of smoke and rain-soaked ash, familiar, grounding, home-like. You notice new tools forming, shaped by persistence and repetition. Stones ground against one another until their edges sharpen, bones polished into points, branches stripped and tied into spears. The community is evolving, inventing, adapting. Historians still argue whether this shift from wandering to gathering was necessity or choice. Watching now, it feels like both. Necessity demanded tools, curiosity perfected them. By midday, a group prepares to explore farther, looking for safer spots and fresh resources. You join them, following a winding trail past trees draped in moss. The air is cooler here, carrying the scent of running water. Eventually, you emerge into a clearing unlike any you've seen before, wide open and crowned with sunlight. The ground is flat, the soil soft. It feels safe. One of the elders gestures, this could be a good place to return to. Water, shelter, open land for sighting predators. For the first time, the idea of building flickers in your mind, not just surviving, but shaping the environment to suit you. You look around, envisioning more fires, more families, more laughter. A seed of civilization takes root quietly in that thought. You help gather stones, stacking them in rough circles to outline potential shelters. Someone fetches long branches, another digs shallow holes. The rhythm of labor becomes hypnotic, scraping, stacking, binding. Every sound carries purpose. For once, you're not reacting to danger, but constructing against it. A few hours later, smoke rises from several small fires, their orange glow bright, even in daylight. Children run between them, pretending to hunt with sticks, their laughter mixing with the steady rhythm of building. One woman hums softly as she ties reeds together to create baskets. This is the sound of progress, the low music of order emerging from chaos. You pause to rest, watching the distant tree line. There's movement there, maybe deer, maybe something else. But this time, the sight doesn't fill you with fear. The group is no longer defenseless wanderers. Spears, fire, and cooperation have made you formidable. Even predators hesitate now. The balance of power is shifting. Historians still debate when humans first began organizing sentinels, designated watchers to guard the camp while others slept or worked. You can see the logic forming now. Two of the young men volunteer to take turns standing near the edge of the clearing, scanning the brush. They carry sharpened stones and torches, symbols of early vigilance. By evening, the clearing glows with multiple fires. The smoke curls upward, painting gray ribbons into the dusk. The group sits in small clusters, eating, chatting, humming low melodies. Someone drums softly on a hollow log, the beat syncing with the rhythm of heartbeats and breath. You realize this too is survival, not just avoiding death, but celebrating life. The elders share tales of the river spirits, of great beasts defeated, of ancestors who walked before. You listen, eyes half closed, as sparks drift up into the night like fireflies. Each story carries a lesson. Be patient, stay close, remember the past. They're not just myths, they're coded instructions for life, disguised as dreams. A soft breeze passes through the clearing, carrying embers high. The stars appear, scattered like salt across black velvet. You look around and notice how relaxed everyone seems, shoulders unknotted, laughter easy, even in darkness. The fires form a circle, protective and symbolic. Within that circle, there is warmth, safety, and belonging. You lean back, feeling the dirt cool against your palms. The thought comes quietly, this simple act of humans gathering around fire, protecting one another, building something together, is the beginning of everything. The start of community, of cooperation, of culture. Historians still argue whether this transition marks the dawn of civilization or merely a step toward it. But lying here, surrounded by your tribe, hearing the rhythmic breathing of sleepers and the low hum of the night, it feels momentous. The predators are out there still. You can hear their distant cries, but for the first time, you don't feel hunted. You feel ... anchored. The fires burn low, glowing like molten eyes in the darkness. Someone throws another branch on the embers, sending sparks spiraling upward. You close your eyes, drifting toward sleep, wrapped in the primal comfort of shared warmth and purpose. Tomorrow, there will be new challenges, gathering food, keeping watch, mending tools, but for tonight, humanity has claimed a small, flickering victory against the wild. And as the stars wheel slowly above you, dream of villages yet to come, of walls, homes, and voices singing together, long after the predators have faded from the edge of the firelight. Dawn again, faint, silver, and full of the quiet rhythm of a world that's learning to breathe with you instead of against you. The smoke from the dying embers curls upward like a whispered prayer. The earth beneath your hand feels warm still, though the night air is cold. You wake slowly to the sound of crackling twigs and soft footsteps. The camp is alive before sunrise. Someone tends the fire, coaxing it back to life. Others stretch their limbs, yawning, murmuring greetings that sound more like a family than a tribe. You stand, step toward the edge of camp, and feel the soil, soft, familiar. There's a small garden here now, rough but deliberate. Patches of herbs, clusters of tubers, sprouting from earth that once seemed barren. The first gardens weren't about abundance. They were about trust, trusting that the world could give back if you treated it gently. People had learned that survival wasn't just taking, it was planting, waiting, believing. The soil remembers every hand that's turned it, every seed pressed into it with hope. You kneel, brush the leaves, and inhale the scent of something unmistakably human effort, patience, persistence. In the distance, smoke rises from another camp, not an enemy's, not a stranger's, a neighbor's. You realize, for the first time, that there are others like you, building, planting, learning to live with the land instead of running from it. A messenger arrives before noon. He carries a pouch made of woven grass, filled with something new. Small beads made of bone and clay, tokens of trade. He speaks in a rhythm you half understand, gestures toward the horizon, and leaves one bead in your palm. Smooth, cool, beautiful. It's not just decoration, it's communication, a bridge, the first flicker of economy. When you return to camp, you find the others curious. They examine the bead, turning it over in their fingers, marveling at its craftsmanship. Someone says, "We can make more." Another says, "We can trade." And just like that, commerce is born, not in gold or greed, but in connection, in the idea that what you make can matter to someone beyond your fire. That evening, you sit beside the water again. The air hums with insects. The last light of day paints the river orange and gold. You think of how far you've come from caves to camps, from running to resting, from surviving to creating. You catch your reflection in the river and barely recognize the figure staring back. The dirt, the scars, the weary eyes, all tell a story, not of fear, but of endurance. You are no longer prey, you are no longer lost, you are becoming. As the sky darkens, thunder rumbles from the east. The camp moves quickly, tying down shelters, gathering tools, covering the fire with stone. This isn't panic anymore, it's preparation. The storm breaks soon after, fierce and wild. Rain lashes the earth, wind tears at branches. But you and your people stand firm beneath woven roofs, wrapped in the safety of what you've built. You watch the lightning fork across the sky, brilliant, terrifying, beautiful. Once it would have sent you running. Now you watch with awe. It reminds you of fire, the first fire, the one you feared and worshipped and then mastered. Nature isn't your enemy anymore. It's your teacher. Hours later, when the rain slows, you step outside. The ground glistens. The air smells clean and alive. Around you, the forest hums again, frogs croaking, leaves dripping, night birds calling to each other. You realize the storm has left behind more than wet earth. It's left understanding. You tilt your head back, stare into the endless night, and think of all the things still to come. Walls, wheels, language, gods. But for now, it's enough to stand barefoot in the mud, feel the pulse of the living world, and know, truly know, that you belong to it. A child runs past, laughing, splashing in puddles. A wolf trots behind, tail wagging, keeping watch. You smile, kneel, and scoop a handful of water. Drink deeply. It's cold and perfect. For the first time, the word home doesn't feel temporary. It feels earned. You look back toward the camp, the faint glow of fire through rain-soaked leaves, the laughter, the soft voices, the rhythm of life. Civilization's heartbeat grows louder, steadier. You whisper to yourself, not in words, but in feeling, gratitude. For the earth, for the fire, for the long road that brought you here. Because in this moment, standing between storm and stillness, you finally understand what your ancestors must have felt when they looked into the dark and saw not fear, but possibility. And with that realization, you smile, because survival was never the goal. Becoming human was. And now, as the last embers fade and the soft hiss of rain settles into silence, you breathe a little deeper. The world you've just wandered through, from firelight to friendship, from fear to understanding, begins to blur gently at the edges. Your heartbeat slows. The air feels warmer somehow, as if the earth itself is tucking you in. You can almost hear the quiet crackle of that ancient campfire, the soft murmur of voices long gone, the steady rhythm of a world learning to rest. Every sound tonight, the whisper of wind, the faint echo of rain, feels like an old story being retold, slowly, just for you. A reminder that survival was never about strength alone. It was about care, connection, the quiet courage to keep trying when everything around you wanted to stop you. You picture them, your distant ancestors, curling close to the fire, shoulder to shoulder, trusting the dark to pass. Their eyes close, the flames dim, the stars above them flicker in the same endless pattern that still watches over you. It's peaceful now. No predators, no fear, just the slow breathing of the night. Let your mind drift with them, through time, through memory, through the hush between heartbeats. You are safe here. You are warm. You are part of the same story that began with sparks and shadows and quiet bravery. So breathe, let go, and if you close your eyes, maybe, just maybe, you'll dream beneath the same stars they once did. Good night, traveler. Sleep well, sweet dreams. The morning begins with birdsong, soft, layered, endless. It weaves between the smoky tendrils, still rising from last night's fires, carrying a strange kind of peace. You blink awake and realize the camp feels different. There's movement, structure, rhythm, not chaos. The people here aren't just surviving anymore. They're living. You sit up, rubbing sleep from your eyes, and glance around. Someone is mending a woven mat near the edge of camp. Two children chase each other between tree trunks, laughing. Smoke drifts upward in delicate columns from cooking fires. There's even a faint scent of herbs and roasted meat. It's astonishing how quickly wild can become home. You walk toward the water's edge, where the morning mist still clings to the surface. The reflection of your face ripples slightly as a fish darts beneath. The air is cool and wet against your skin. Behind you, you can hear distant hammering, someone striking flint, another pounding grain against stone. Every sound blends into a quiet symphony of progress. It's here that the first guardianship truly takes shape. As strange as it sounds, humans start protecting more than themselves. The Camp S dogs, descendants of the cautious wolves that once lingered on the edge of the firelight, now lie curled near sleeping children, alert but calm. The bond is wordless but deep. Historians still argue whether this partnership began through shared hunger or shared trust, maybe both. You watch one of the wolves, a gray, scarred creature with alert amber eyes, tilt its head at a sudden rustle in the grass. Instead of bolting, it stands between the sound and the camp, tail low, muscles tense. Protector, not predator. The transformation feels almost magical. You remember when fire was your only defense. Now, it's loyalty, connection, the silent promise between species that survival works better together. The morning chores continue. Hunters prepare to set out, checking spears, carrying woven baskets. One woman tends to a small pen made from branches. Inside, 2 young goats bleat softly. They're not prey, not food yet, but something new, companions with purpose. Humans have begun keeping animals, not to kill, but to nurture. Another shift in the balance. By midday, the camp buzzes with motion. The hunters return carrying wild fruit and a freshly caught hare. The air fills with the smell of roasting, the sound of crackling fat. You sit with the others in the shade, watching the gray wolf again, now licking the hands of a child, offering scraps. It's surreal how easily the predator that once stalked you now shares your meals. Historians still debate when this first happened, when humanity's relationship with the wild turned from fear to stewardship. But here, now, it's undeniable. The wolves protect the people. The people feed the wolves. Even the birds linger nearby, waiting for crumbs, unafraid of movement or laughter. Nature itself seems to lean closer, intrigued. As evening falls, another moment unfolds that marks the deepening of humanity's role as guardian. One of the hunters limps back to camp, his leg cut badly on sharp rock. Blood stains his foot, and you can see the pain etched across his face. Without hesitation, others rush to help. Once, such an injury might have meant death, abandonment for the sake of survival. But not now. Someone fetches clean water. Another gathers leaves, known for their healing sap. The wounded man is laid beside the fire. You watch as the group works seamlessly, washing, binding, soothing. The air hums with focused care. Historians still argue whether empathy evolved for utility or love, whether compassion had an evolutionary purpose. Watching this, you realize it doesn't matter. What began as survival has become something sacred. Later that night, the group sits quietly. The injured man sleeps, his wound wrapped and clean. The wolves curl nearby, the goats nestled in their small pen. The fires burn low, sending spirals of smoke toward the vast star-filled sky. The mood is reflective, a shared calm that transcends the fear that once ruled every moment. Someone begins to sing softly, a tune passed down from elders, a melody that speaks of light and safety. The sound fills the camp, floating into the open dark. You feel warmth spread through your chest, not from the fire, but from the sheer beauty of connection. You glance toward the trees, half expecting eyes to glint back, those of a watching predator. And maybe they do, but this time they don't approach. They keep their distance. The balance has changed forever. Humans, the once hunted, have become guardians, not through strength alone, but through unity, empathy, and imagination. A child climbs into your lap, tired from play, and drifts to sleep against your arm. The gray wolf settles near your feet, its breathing slow, rhythmic. You stare into the fire and realize this fragile peace, this strange coexistence, is civilization's first heartbeat. Historians will someday call it domestication, social bonding, cultural evolution. But right now, in this moment, it's simpler. It's warmth against the cold, a shared watch against the night. As you close your eyes, the fire flickers, the song fades, and the scent of smoke lingers in your hair. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, hunger, storms, wandering predators. But tonight, you rest, knowing that humanity no longer stands alone. The guardians have awakened.